Greetings everyone, I'm Mar. Once again, this is my opinion. As you can tell from the title up there, I'm continuing my trek through the episodes of Everybody Loves Raymond, one episode and one season at a time. Looking for the box. As you can tell, we are still going through season 5, and now we're on episode 9, so just keep plodding through them. Before I get to the topic of the video, just a reminder, if you do want to support the channel, both the Patreon and PayPal links are down below. With the Patreon, you'll get to suggest topics for future videos, and you'll get access to those videos early. With the PayPal, if you want to just do one-off support or a one-off request, makes it a lot easier and you don't have to fully commit month after month. Now, today's episode, Fighting In-Laws. This is one that I've always loved and enjoyed because it takes something that we've grown accustomed to in the 5 seasons at this point and completely flips it around, and that is Deborah's parents. We've seen that they do enjoy each other, they enjoy their trips, that they seem to be more ideal in-laws than, say, the Barones are. And even with that, we've seen they're not perfect. We've seen that Deborah does wish that her mother would help out a bit more, would actually ask more questions related to the kids or Ray. And as Marie put it in that episode, she's a nice lady, but she's not mother-ish. Here we find out that there's more to it, that actually the marriage actually does have an issue. Hence the title, Fighting In-Laws. And this is an episode written by Kathy Ann Stump, which she does a good job with this teleplay, so I got to give her that. Captures the dynamics between the characters, and then takes that fighting for the in-laws and makes the problems and their bickering believable. And of course, the 2 actors that play Deborah's parents, always great to see them. And they nail it here, and you definitely believe that this is actually how they are behind closed doors and not simply just a retcon just to give a quick laugh. Now, it's a Thanksgiving episode, so make of that what you will. Like, fighting Thanksgiving at the Barones? No, it couldn't happen. But here we go with it. Deborah's parents are coming over for Thanksgiving. Now, with it, they come with a lot of luggage. And everyone's like, I wonder what's going on. They're just stopping here on their way to another trip. They're going to Baden-Baden. And, of course, Warren is talking about where they're going, using, of course, his language pronunciation. Right on the banks of the Uzbach. Going about it. Frank and Marie being their usual self. Frank, I really enjoy his little thing here because he's making fun of the fact that they're going abroad by saying there's a lot of places here in the United States with funny sounding names. Milwaukee, for example. Lake Tahoe. Cape Cod. Typical Frank, but enjoyable. Peter Boyle really does sell it. Even if they're only staying until Thanksgiving is over, Ray and Deborah give up their room to Deborah's parents, which leads to one of my favorite little minor bits of dialogue. I hope we're not putting you out. Oh no, you're not putting me out, except for the part where I gotta get out. And of course, even Deborah's parents laugh at that because it's corny, but it's a harmless little joke. And then we find out through dialogue here that Deborah's parents sleep in the nude. Au naturel, as Warren calls it. And the look on Ray's face when he's watching them it comes to the bed, nice firm mattress. Oh, this pillow will be great for my hip. He's just looking at it like, oh. And he can't sleep as well because him and Deborah are sleeping on the Swedish rack, as Deborah called it a couple of seasons ago when she had to sleep on it with Allie when she was having trouble sleeping. And Ray wakes up Deborah and asks her, like, hey, did your dad shower beforehand? No, we gotta get a new bed. And then we find out through this that Frank has also been naked in that bed, so Deborah concurs. Yeah, we gotta get a new bed. Well, Ray decides to sneak out to go get something, and as he does, that's when Deborah's parents come downstairs. He goes and hides in the garage, even though he could have just stayed there and been like, oh, hey, sorry guys, I was just getting some water or something, then head up. But no, he decides to go hide in the garage, because without that part of it, there'd be no story for the rest of the episode other than him bringing up, yeah, they seemed to be a little bickering when they came down. And then they might have found out what was going on or might not, but he goes and hides in the garage. And for the remainder of this scene, Ray becomes the audience insert to what's about to go on because Deborah's parents are arguing about every little thing, which, sorry about that camera movement, with how loud they're being. I'm surprised Deborah doesn't wake up, but maybe they're loud enough to hear down there and through the wall into the garage, but not loud enough to carry up the stairs up into there. And of course, Deborah could be asleep again. They're arguing about their marriage. Warren brings up the fact that they don't have much of a sex life. And of course, his wife's like, "I'm tired. Can I be tired?" It kind of sounds like something Marie or Deborah would go with, but it makes sense. I mean, if she's tired, he's not going to get any. And of course, the whole thing with him, "Well, I'm never too tired." Oh, yeah, you would want her to see that. He keeps going back and forth. Meanwhile, in the garage, Ray is like... You can tell every little development and thing he hears, he's cracking up on. Because, as he puts it in a later scene, when he tells Deborah, "Your little Connecticut parents are not so perfect after all. It's all just been a face, and maybe this is how they've been the whole time." And of course, when he finds out and overhears that they're going to marriage counseling in New Jersey, he's like, "Ooh, the plot thickens." Yeah, telling Frank and Marie you're going to marriage counseling is probably not the best, considering how their marriage is, even though they're comfortable with one another. Probably not the best major example for everything. And if you do need an outside opinion, you always want to go to a good marriage counselor. You want to pick a good one. Because like any type of therapist, sometimes you'll find one that you're like, how the heck did this person get certified just by listening to their advice and going, yeah. I mean, I think I brought up my therapist story, the one therapist I saw when I was a kid, because he tried to tell my grandmother I was a pyromaniac and I had a history of starting setting fires. I'm like, where the hell is this coming from? Where is this guy getting off saying that I'm basically like Beavis going, fire, yeah, fire, fire? Where the hell is that coming from? So, not saying all of them were like that, but you do gotta look for a good one. And it looks like these two have actually found a good one, and they're going to stay there for a week, trying to make sure their marriage works. From what we see with this scene, there is a lot of back and forth stuff, and from what we find out later, there's a little bit more issues, like Warren has a problem with her profanity, and she has a problem with his drinking and his trying to be controlling. I mean, we see a little bit of it. Controlling has two L's, which that's a little controlling. Kind of funny that he's helping her spell controlling. But you can kind of also see the thing like, that's misspelled, but there's a time and a place for that, not when you're doing marriage counseling. Also, other grammar. Hung, hanged. But that adds to the humor here. Now, the next morning, beginning of Thanksgiving, is when Ray drops the bomb to Deborah. Tells her what happened. Of course, he's also a little idiot because he just sleeps in the garage while waiting for them to go back upstairs because they're doing their marriage counseling homework. I'm just going to tell you, you get too easy. But I'm not going to spoil the context. He tells Deborah's at first like, really, it's none of our business. Then she starts to get into a little bit of an argument with Ray, like, yeah, at least they're trying to get help, unlike your parents. Your parents should be the one going to counseling. And Ray keeps poking the bear, and this leads to one of Deborah's best lines in the whole show and one of the funniest moments of the whole show. Such that this is actually one of the moments that's in the first 6 years compilation at the end of season 6. And that's how I was first introduced to this moment. Listen, if my parents lit an orphanage on fire on Christmas Eve, they wouldn't be as bad as your parents. She turns and she drops the turkey on the floor, tries to pick it up by the wing, keeps falling, then she gets fed up and just throws it in the oven, closes it, and walks off. Ray just standing there. Now, this next line is not in the compilation, but I think it's what sells this whole thing. He just looks over where Deborah was going, and he's like, I always wondered where the flavor came from. Even now when we watching it, that got a good laugh out of me, because it's like, yeah, hope you clean that before you cook it. We never find out, of course. It goes to once everything's ready, all the food is being set, Frank and Marie get a little bicker, and Marie goes and messes with the yams, taking off the marshmallows. Which I have to say personally, I actually prefer the yams without the marshmallows. Just saying. They're already naturally sweet enough. Deborah's parents come downstairs, and Warren says one of my favorite lines he ever says. So Ray, where are you keeping the libations locked up? It's got to be after 5 somewhere in the world. Because as we've mentioned, he's a functioning alcoholic. And Robert does second him. I'm with you, Warren. Let's get schnockered. Which, on the blooper reel, there's a couple alternate takes of that line where he messes it up. He's like, I'm way ahead of you, Ward. Nice little thing to include on the blooper reel. I can just imagine that's a line that might take a couple times if you just say it wrong and internally mess up. Now, with Robert, he doesn't really have a lot going on this episode other than, they do address in the dialogue between Deborah's parents that the mother doesn't really like Robert because he freaks her out. They never mention why, but I'm guessing because of his height and maybe his voice, maybe some other stuff about him. He doesn't really like her because he kind of senses that vibe. And that plays into this episode a bit because guess where Robert's sitting? Between his mother and Deborah's mother. Well, because Debra was told by Ray, she starts giving little hints to her parents that she knows what's going on, but then she decides to drop it. But then Warren decides to drop the bomb and tell everyone that they're going to marriage counseling in Piscataway, New Jersey. Hey, at least they're going to a city with a funny name, which Frank points out. And, of course, all the problems keep coming out, which, while rewatching this, I'm like, where are the little ones at this? Are they upstairs? Are they on the side watching their other grandparents melt down like this? I know that's something I didn't think about when I was young, but now as an adult, I'm watching this, I'm like, where are the kids? Hopefully they're upstairs and not paying attention to this. They're just lost in their, little world of play and make-believe, not paying attention to Grandma and Grandpa from Connecticut having their meltdown downstairs. And, of course, they're just trying to figure out, who told Debra? Ray heard you, he was hiding over in the garage. And then the last scene, we see Frank and Marie bonding with Deborah's parents. Marie with Deborah's mom because, hearing about how Warren has to have everything his way. Oh, Lois. Sorry, I keep forgetting her name, Lois. Marie bonding with Lois. Sorry about that if you've been getting Lois. Bonding with Lois, her angrily ripping stuff. And then, of course, Warren and Frank bonding over food and all that. And it ends with Frank suggesting to Warren, hey, maybe you need a pair of my stretchy pants. Which, of course, Debra doesn't like this because she wanted the parents to get along, but not in this way. And this is what's scaring her. They're like, oh, no, now I'm going to be getting it from both ends. Urgh! The reason she thinks that is because one of the last lines of the episode is Lois going, you're right, Marie. Debra could get this rug a lot cleaner. Which, of course, hearing that, it's like, Marie, just because you no longer have any kids in the house and you're able to clean over and over to ridiculous standards does not mean your daughter-in-law is not getting the house clean. Just saying. Just one of those things that, just because it's not your standards does not mean it's not clean or it's not organized. Everyone does things differently. Just one of those annoying little things. All in all, pretty fun episode. Does flip things and subvert expectations a bit because you don't expect Warren and Lois to be arguing like this. You expect Frank and Marie to be arguing like this. So to see this, it's like, oh my God, how is this going to continue forward the next time we see the parents? Well, let me grab the box. I got it right here. Well, I believe it's this season. I'm checking the title. We only got one more episode on disc 2. Alright, we'll go to Ray's Journal, Silent Partners. Oh, yeah. Which later on, episode 23, we're going to find out exactly what happens in the relationship between Warren and Lois, and then that's going to continue even further, and 2 more appearances by him. One, I believe, is next season, and one is in a later season, which that one, oh my God, one line from that one's going to be hilarious once I get to that, especially since by that point we've introduced Amy's parents. So that will make that very, very funny. Now, to add to it, this episode does have one deleted scene, but it's one of those deleted scenes that you're like, yeah, I can see why that was deleted. It's Debra offering Marie suggestions on an alternative yam dish, which she turns down, which is like, okay, that's typical Marie. And of course, it's a yam souffle, and then she says, your parents are souffle people, which is like, yeah, and it's like, and? It's always good to try nice things. I mean, we tried a fish on Thanksgiving already, so why not a yam souffle to give it a little variety? But it is what it is. And Marie's looking for the marshmallows, and guess where they are? Frank is eating them. So nice little scene, but you can see why it was cut for pacing and also for the network. And I have a feeling even if they included it in the original broadcast, this is probably one of those moments that was cut in syndication. Just like in the episode we're going to see next season about Warren and Lois and their little dynamic with the family, especially on Warren's end. There's a scene at the beginning of that that's cut for syndication, so whenever I watch that one, I'm like, huh? And then when I watch it on the disc, I'm like, oh, now this episode makes a lot more sense. But that's syndication and cutting things for pacing for you. It is what it is. Like I said, overall, a fun episode. Nice to see the A little swerve when it comes to Warren and Lois. Nice to see the family react to it. Kathy on Stump, like I said at the top, her writing spot on for the characters. And following the young girl, this is a nice little one. And of course, it's going to continue forward into this season. Now, the next episode does have some funny moments in it. It's one that sometimes is on the skip, sometimes is on the watch one, depends on my mood. And it's definitely going to be one where you're going to kind of side with Marie at the end, but at the same time, you're going to be like, at least wait. And of course, that is going to be the sneeze. Until next time, guys.